Chapter 1. The Auction. Celestial dragons, slave traders, damn it all. If I survive this, I'll never let these insects off the hook. Vane stood on the auction stage. Desperation etched his face. Fury burned in his eyes. This was the notorious slave auction house on Sabaudi Archipelago, a place drenched in sin. Among its regular clients were the celestial dragons, the so-called gods of this world. Vane was one of the unfortunate souls up for auction today. Though not officially labeled a slave, the collar around his neck told another story. It was a bomb. Any sign of resistance, and his head would be blown to pieces. Heavy iron chains shackled his wrists and ankles. He was a prisoner, nothing more. Only 15 years old, Vane had lived his entire life on Sabaudi after being born into this world from his mother's womb. A world of pirates, chaos, and no second chances. He had no cheat powers, no system, no desire to be a pirate. He simply wanted to survive, maybe even go to sea one day and make a living. But fate had other plans. 3 years ago, he lost his parents, and now here he was, up for auction like cattle. His parents were murdered by celestial dragons. That hatred, deep, searing, was carved into his very bones. Standing under the harsh lights, Vane could feel dozens of eyes upon him. Nobles, pirates, scum, but most chilling of all, 2 celestial dragons were in attendance, and one of them, a female, had already set her eyes on him. The more I look at this one, the more I like him, she said with a twisted grin. Such an elegant little child. He's got a certain charm. He'll make a fine toy, she continued. My last one broke yesterday. What's a girl to do without toys? Because she sat in the second row, her words reached Vane loud and clear. Brother, don't you think so? She asked the obese man beside her, her sibling, equally disgusting in demeanor. You should buy a few more, he replied through a runny nose. Then you won't have to come here every time one breaks. The 2 celestial dragon siblings were grotesque. Both wore their trademark transparent helmets. Both carried themselves as if they were gods above mortals. They called themselves descendants of the Creator, refused to breathe the same air as commoners, and saw all life beneath them. Vane had been captured because he'd offended a slave trader. Now, if he were bought by the celestial dragons, his life would be nothing more than endless suffering. Even as a transmigrator, Vane had no advantages, no system, no power-ups, just a collar primed to explode and an iron will to survive. If things had gone differently, maybe he could have lived 70 more years, maybe even joined the Navy someday. But now he was helpless. He found himself praying for a miracle. Maybe Silver's Rayleigh would show up and save him? But no, Rayleigh wouldn't come. Too many people were auctioned every day. The man lived in retirement now, quiet and withdrawn. He wasn't anyone's savior. And Vane, always quiet and distant, had never even tried to get to know people like Rayleigh. Next up, we have a brand new human slave, the auctioneer announced. Look how handsome this young man is. Aren't you tempted, dear nobles? Don't you want to make a bid? Then what are you waiting for? The starting price is 1 million berries. The auctioneer, mic in hand, spoke with the energy of a con artist. Fast, rhythmic, persuasive. A professional. The room buzzed with excitement. Vane's expression darkened. He wanted to kill this man. He wanted to destroy every last one of these scum on Sabaudi, especially the 2 celestial dragons in the front row. 1.2 million berries. 1.4 million. 2 million. 3 million. The bidding began, mostly from aristocratic women. Male nobles didn't bother. After all, they weren't interested in boys. The female celestial dragon said nothing. She merely watched, smiling, confident. She knew none of these people would dare outbid her. In her world, celestial dragons were untouchable. Rich beyond measure thanks to the heavenly tribute, she could buy anything. 6 million! 6 million! Any more bids? Going once. Going twice. 6 million. The auctioneer paused, then glanced at the female celestial dragon. Her eyes glimmered with amusement. A middle-aged noblewoman who had bid 6 million gave a smug smile. Looks like this one's mine. But just before the gavel fell, a calm voice rang out. 30 million berries. Silence. The entire auction hall froze for a full 30 seconds. The auctioneer swallowed hard. 30 million berries. For a slave that started at 1 million? Insane. But to the celestial dragon known as Lily Alina, it was pocket change. And for the auctioneer, it meant a 3 million berry commission. 30 million berries going once, going twice. Any challengers? No one dared respond. Competing with a celestial dragon was a death wish. 30 million berries, 3 times. Sold! Congratulations to Lady Lilialina of the Celestial Dragons. The auctioneer beamed. He'd hit the jackpot. Vane clenched his fists, though his strength was gone. He was now a possession of the Celestial Dragons. The worst fate imaginable. Despair filled him, but at that moment a voice echoed in his mind. Investment system detected. Binding request initiated. Do you accept? A system? Vane froze. Was he hallucinating? 15 years of hardship had taught him not to hope. Ding, investment system detected. Binding request initiated. Do you accept? There it was again. Mechanical. Real. Chapter 2. System. Is it really a system? Vane finally realized it might have been an auditory hallucination the first time, but 3 times? Ding, the investment system requests binding. Do you want to bind it? A 3rd time. Can I communicate with thoughts? Yes. The system's voice was cold and mechanical. Bind. Vane's nerves tightened. All these years, he never imagined he'd awaken a system. Just an ordinary guy living an ordinary life. He'd never even seen a devil fruit up close. Adventures were distant dreams, nothing more. Ding! The investment system has been successfully bound. Activation complete. Do you want to make an investment? This being your first investment, it is free. Would you like to proceed? This young slave now belongs to this distinguished Lord Celestial Dragon. The next auction item is also the most anticipated today. An zoon-type devil fruit. Specific abilities unknown. Let's see who the lucky bidder is. While the auctioneer rambled on, Vane was escorted backstage, awaiting the female celestial dragon to collect her new property. But Vane sneered quietly. Come on, you'll see soon enough. Sabari Archipelago, infamous for its dark trade, a place where sin was made legal under the celestial dragon's protection. This place was their playground. Heaven for some, hell for others. Would you like to conduct a superdimensional strongman test? Upon detection, you may choose one of 2 discovered individuals to invest in. The longer the investment time, the greater the return, limited by the character's lifespan. This first test can be completed immediately. Free investment meant no cost for Vane this time. Future opportunities might not come so easily. What do I gain from investing, he asked. Abilities, strength, items, weapons, or even summoning the target themselves. A grin crept across Vane's face. He clenched his fists, hope flooding into him like a tide. Why are you smiling, slave? The nearby guard spat the words. Vane ignored him. That man would be dead soon enough. Just another slave trader. Run the strongman test, Vane said silently. Ding, testing initiate. Ding, test complete. Results, One Piece World, peak Whitebeard. One Piece World, peak Garp. Please choose your investment. Whitebeard. No hesitation. Compared to Garp, Whitebeard's value was unmatched. The Tremor-Tremor Fruit and advanced hockey alone made him a powerhouse. Garp might be strong physically, possibly wielding armament and conqueror's hockey, but the Tremor-Tremor Fruit could destroy the world. Would you like to complete the investment now? Yes! Ding! Investment complete. Peak Whitebeard incoming. Congratulations, host. You've obtained Whitebeard's prime physique, not peak. Congratulations, host. You've obtained Whitebeard's advanced hockey, observation armament, and conquerors. Congratulations, host. You've obtained intermediate mastery of the Tremor-Tremor Fruit. As the system fell silent, Vane could feel it, his body rapidly changing. Though his frame still appeared lean, power surged through him. Years of chronic fatigue vanished. He was alive like never before. Observation hockey, Vane extended his senses, perceiving every movement in the auction house, even the scuttling of ants. He expanded the field to 100 meters before stopping. Precision mattered more than size. With this, he could foresee danger, maybe even hear the voice of all things. Armament hockey, the advanced type, not just the black coating, like Garp's legendary punches. And Conqueror's hockey, the will of kings, the mark of a ruler. But the real gem, the Tremor-Tremor Fruit. Its power scaled with the user's strength, and Vane's body was now far beyond average. From the very beginning, this fruit held devastating potential. Blackbeard used it to shake Marineford itself, and Vane now had a taste of that same power. While the guards remained unaware, Vane tightened his right fist. A transparent sphere of pressure formed around it, a manifestation of the Tremor-Tremor Fruit. He held himself back. Not yet. The guard watching him casually twirled a small remote, the trigger for the bomb collar around Vane's neck. It would be handed off to the celestial dragon shortly. Vane had other plans. Without warning, he struck. A single punch caved in the guard's stomach. The man flew backwards, smashed into the wall, and collapsed like a discarded rag doll. You! Too late. Vane crushed his skull with a swift kick. Die! In this world, life meant nothing, especially the lives of slavers. Now, how do I open this lock? Vane recalled how Rayleigh had done it in the original story, likely through advanced armament hockey, but Vane hadn't mastered that yet. Host, would you like to remove the shackles? Can you? Do it. With a faint clink, the cuffs on his wrists, ankles, and neck all snapped open and clattered to the floor. Chapter 3, Blood on Sabaody. So let's get started. At this moment, Vane was like a beast unleashed from its cage. He remembered how he had offended the slave traders earlier that morning and ended up captured and auctioned off. He remembered how, years ago, his parents were shot dead in the street simply for failing to kneel in time before the celestial dragons. He remembered the arrogance of those so-called gods, how powerless he had been, and how he'd remained dormant for years, achieving nothing. Vane's eyes turned ice cold. He knew that killing a celestial dragon would make him a target for the entire world. Even if he wasn't a pirate, even looking at them the wrong way was considered an offense punishable by death. Touch a single hair on their head, and you'd bring the wrath of heaven down upon yourself. And to kill one, he would absolutely be hunted down without mercy, and the first to pursue him would be a Navy admiral. Since I've already offended them, I might as well finish the job. Kill them all. Wipe out every last one of them, and maybe then there'll be peace. His grip tightened. Cold resolve filled his eyes as he picked up the knife from the waist of a fallen slave trader. Vane walked out from behind the curtain and stepped onto the stage. The crowd went silent. Everyone, including the auction attendees, stared at him. Vane, a knife in hand. Wasn't this the slave the celestial dragons had just purchased? But where were his shackles? Vane gave a cruel smile. Behind the unaware auctioneer, he lunged forward and drove the knife into his back. The blade pierced straight through, emerging from the front. Wah! The auctioneer froze, stunned by the sudden searing pain. His face went pale as he slowly turned his head, only to see the very auction item from earlier. You auctioned me, didn't you? Vane's voice was venomous. He yanked the knife out and in one fluid motion slashed again. The auctioneer's head dropped to the ground. Screams erupted. The once orderly auction house descended into chaos. Staff members rushed the stage, but Vane released a controlled burst of Conqueror's hockey. Sharp, precise. The advanced technique allowed him to knock out only his chosen targets. The charging staff collapsed where they stood. Gasps and cries filled the room. The two celestial dragons on the platform stared in disbelief. Vane turned his gaze to them, cold, disgusted. His expression alone was enough to make them furious, especially the female celestial dragon who had offered 30 million berries. Arrest him! How dare a lowlife glare at a noble celestial dragon? The female celestial dragon screamed, pointing at Vane, and ordered her guards forward. The guards charged, but with Vane's observation hockey, he could see right through them. Their movements were sluggish, predictable. Of course, they weren't true fighters. No one dared touch a celestial dragon in this world, not with admirals guarding them. Their protectors never needed to be strong. Vane swung the blade once, one head fell. Then another. 6 guards dropped in under 30 seconds. He turned and faced the celestial dragons directly. His eyes radiated years of pent-up rage. The brother and sister trembled visibly. The male frantically pulled out a den mushi. Navy headquarters, this is an order. Send an admiral, now! We're in Sabaody. A filthy lowlife dares to assault us. His eyes! Gouge them out! Kill him! His shriek echoed through the auction house. The crowd froze. He had called the Navy admiral. Vane's expression didn't change. In a flash, he appeared in front of them. He slammed the glass helmets on their heads down against the wooden bench. You're the rot in this world. You parade around as gods, but you're filth. Less than garbage. Descendants of the Creator? You've done nothing but poison this world with your arrogance. You all deserve to die. With a crushing force, Vane shattered the glass helmets. For the first time, the celestial dragons were. The female celestial dragon whipped out a pistol, but Vane crushed her hand underfoot. The sickening crack of bones rang out, followed by her scream, piercing and desperate. For someone who had never even bled before, this was her first taste of pain. "You're dead! You dare challenge the gods!" The male celestial dragon tried to roar, but Vane stomped on his grotesque face, caving it in and shattering his nose. He screamed as well. Vane's sneer deepened. He clenched his fists. Then screams echoed from the stage, agonized, unrelenting. The sounds continued for 5 long minutes before finally going silent. A loud voice rang from outside. "Criminal inside, you're surrounded. Release the noble celestial dragons immediately." Heavy footsteps thundered beyond the walls. The Navy had arrived. The Admiral would be close behind. Sabaody was just a step away from Marineford. The response was inevitable. Vane didn't know which Admiral would show up, but he welcomed it. It begins now. His gaze was sharp, unflinching. His hands were already stained with blood, and he had no intention of stopping. Chapter 4. Fall of Celestial Dragons. Turn a blind eye to the evil on the Sabaody archipelago, yet try to cover up the true source of that evil. Vane sneered coldly. He grabbed the body of the female celestial dragon and hurled it toward the door of the auction house. The impact was so tremendous that it shattered the solid door on the spot. Her body flew like a cannonball. By coincidence or fate, her corpse landed squarely on the Navy's cannon stationed outside. Her head was jammed into the muzzle, her body hanging grotesquely over the weapon. What is that? Is it a person? Those are celestial dragon clothes. It's covered in blood. Panic erupted among the Marines. The noble was drenched in blood, and none of them had ever witnessed something so horrifying. These weren't elite soldiers, just standard garrison forces stationed on the Sabaody archipelago. They were completely unprepared for this. When the body hit the ground, they could see it clearly. It was a woman. Her head was deformed beyond recognition, and she was unmistakably, irrevocably dead. She's dead. A celestial dragon is dead. The Marines collapsed with fear. Some dropped to the ground, shaking uncontrollably, unable to fathom the reality. The so-called gods slain. How could this happen? Before they could collect themselves, another body was hurled out. It crashed straight into the second cannon. It's another one, another celestial dragon. Dead. He's dead too. The scene descended into chaos. Never had they imagined such a thing. The celestial dragons, untouchable and revered, murdered. Not just one, but two. And their wounds weren't from a quick death. They'd been tortured. Breaking news. This is breaking news. Who did this? All eyes turned to the auction house. No one dared to enter. Whoever had the audacity to kill a celestial dragon was no ordinary criminal. They were a force of nature. To the trembling Navy, a demon now lurked within those walls. This is the biggest story in the world, even bigger than the red-haired becoming ruler of the New World. Nearby reporters furiously scribbled in notebooks and snapped pictures, eager to capture the moment that would shake the world. It's because this world is ruled by filth that more filth keeps rising to the top. Some people think of themselves as gods, sitting on their thrones. But when power is unchecked, corruption festers. Vane stood among the carnage with a calm expression. He had killed today, killed people, killed celestial dragons, but his heart didn't waver. There was no guilt. Cleansing the world of sin shouldn't carry a burden. He stepped forward, out the door of the shattered auction house. On the other side, Marines saw him. So did a swarm of reporters gathered on the Sabaody archipelago, one of the busiest transit points to the New World. With news agencies from across the seas stationed here, cameras and pens were ready. As soon as Vane emerged, the flashes began. The reporters shouted, taking wild notes, photographing everything they could. Vane didn't care. Let the world see. Let them know someone had dared to challenge the so-called descendants of the Creator. Not just challenge, he'd killed them. Was it him? Did he kill the celestial dragons? He's covered in blood, but he's just a kid. The Marines raised their guns, muzzles trained on him. Hands in the air! Surrender! Now! The lead officer barked orders. Vane responded by unleashing his conqueror's haki. The moment it hit, Marines and reporters alike fainted in waves, crashing to the ground in silence. All quiet now. Vane knew there was no turning back. But he wasn't afraid. He would rise, no matter what. Someday, not even admirals could stop him. He also knew the Navy wouldn't sit idle. An admiral would come. And Vane wasn't ready to face an admiral. Yet. He lacked the combat experience to go head-to-head. He needed to leave Sabaody soon, but not before finishing what he started. Turning to face the auction house, a lavish, towering building, Vane raised his right hand. With a gesture mirroring Whitebeard, a translucent spherical force began to wrap around his fist. This was the first time he'd used the power of the Tremor-Tremor Fruit. He could feel the devastating might within his arm, energy that could break the world itself. Intermediate development. Tremor-Tremor Fruit. Whitebeard was said to have awakened the fruit's power to the point of shaking the sea itself when enraged. Vane couldn't yet grasp that level, but even now, his own mastery was fearsome. He threw a punch. Crack! The air itself shattered, fractures webbed outward from his fists like broken glass. Then the entire auction house began to tremble. Cracks split the ground and the walls, expanding like veins through the structure. Within moments, the massive building collapsed, reduced to rubble. The destruction echoed across the island. Unreal. This power is monstrous, Vane muttered, shaking his numb fist. The sensation faded after a few seconds. The Tremor-Tremor Fruit wasn't just strong, it was demanding. Whitebeard had grown weaker in his later years, not because of the fruit, but because his body could no longer contain its potential. Like a cup's capacity, even power has limits based on the vessel holding it. Next up, Vane said with a chilling smile, I'll destroy every auction house and every last slave trader. Vane had lived on the Sabaody archipelago for more than a decade, watching its cruelty fester. Powerless before, now he would burn it all down. Afterward, he would vanish. He couldn't fight an admiral, yet, but soon.